So I just quit my job in a clinic as a physiotherapist, and today was my last day. And I want to talk about why. Not to vent, but because I think there's something in this experience worth sharing. Something I kept coming back to during those 8 months that I think a lot of people can relate to. So the clinic I worked at sees around 108 patients a day, which sounds impressive until you're actually inside it every single day. The noise was the first thing that got to me. I've actually made a whole video about how noise affects us psychologically, and working there was basically a live demonstration of everything I talked about in the video. Machine alarms going off constantly in the background, patients talking over each other, and then there's this aqua bed, this massage bed that runs continuously all day, every single second of every shift without stopping. And I think I'm more sensitive to noise than most people. So that alone was slowly wearing me down in ways I couldn't fully articulate at first. It's the kind of thing you don't notice immediately. You just get home at the end of the day feeling more depleted than you expected, and you can't quite explain why. But the noise was only part of it. The workload was something else. 5 to 6 manual therapy sessions a day, each one 50 minutes long. That's already a full shift for most people. But right after each session, we had to give a 10-minute complimentary massage, then escort the patient to the aqua bed, set them up on the physiotherapy machines, and somehow find time to fill out patient charts in between all of that. Most days there was no time to even sit down, sometimes genuinely no time to use the toilet. And I kept telling myself it was just the adjustment period, that I would get used to it, that this was just how it was in the beginning and things would settle down. And I think a lot of people tell themselves that it's a reasonable thing to believe. Some environments do get better once you find your rhythm. And this one didn't. After about 6 or 7 months, I started noticing something was off. Not in a dramatic way, but just quietly. I was tired all the time in a way that sleep didn't really fix. And I stopped exercising, which I had always relied on to stay sane. Small things were starting to irritate me that normally wouldn't. The stress was just building somewhere underneath, and I didn't really know where to put it. And I think that's the thing about a draining environment. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't send you a warning. It just slowly takes things from you until one day you look up and realize you're not quite the same person you were when you started. That's when I started thinking seriously about quitting. Here's what made it complicated though. I actually love being a physiotherapist. Genuinely, I love the analytical side of it. Figuring out what's actually going on with the patient beneath the surface, piecing things together, and there's this moment that never got old for me. When someone comes in struggling and you can see them leaving just a little bit better. That feeling of actually helping someone in a concrete, physical way is hard to replicate. I also love that you meet so many different kinds of people in this job. Every patient comes from a completely different background, and if you actually pay attention, you learn something from almost all of them. Things you would never come across in other settings. So this wasn't me quitting physiotherapy. It was me quitting that specific place, that specific environment. There's a real difference, and I had to keep reminding myself of that because it would have been easy to conflate the two and walk away feeling like I had failed at something I actually care about. I didn't fail at physiotherapy. I just chose the wrong environment. And I think that distinction matters. I've been thinking a lot about why it took me 8 months to leave. Honestly, longer than I should have. And I think it comes down to this. There's a version of endurance that looks like strength but isn't really, where you stay in something difficult because leaving feels like giving up, because you worked hard to get there, because you don't want to seem like someone who can't handle things. And I felt all of that. I had spent years becoming a physiotherapist. I had studied hard, transferred colleges, passed my licensing exam, parents' expectations, and I invested a lot. And if I quit, I would feel like I'm a failure. Walking away from my job 8 months in felt almost embarrassing. Like, I should be tougher than this. But here's what I've realized. There's a difference between pushing through something that's making you stronger and pushing through something that's just making you smaller. The first one is worth it. The second one, you're just slowly losing something you might not get back easily. And the tricky part is that they can look identical from the outside. Both involve showing up every day to something hard. Both require discipline and commitment. The difference is what you look like on the other side. Now, what's next? I have a direction, things I'm genuinely excited about building. But I'm not going to get into the specifics yet because I don't want to jinx it. I know. Some things are better kept close until they're actually real. What I can say is that for the first time in a while, I feel genuinely excited. Not anxious excited, just lighter. Like I made a decision that's actually mine. That I chose deliberately rather than ended up in by default. And I think that feeling of choosing something intentionally is more important than most people give it credit for. Because a lot of people are sitting in something that's slowly draining them and staying because leaving feels irresponsible. Because uncertainty is scary. Because at least they know what they're dealing with. And I understand that completely because I felt it too. But I think the question worth asking isn't, can I survive this? Most people can survive most things. The better question is this making me more of who I want to be or less? If the answer is less, that's worth paying attention to. Leaving isn't weakness. It's not giving up. Sometimes it's just the most honest thing you can do for yourself. And the courage of walking away from something stable towards something uncertain because you know deep down it's the right move. That's the real courage.